Well, hello everybody, and welcome to VTOL VR. In this series, I'm going to take a closer look at the F-45A, which is basically the replica of F-35, the actual plane. And it is as close as it can be to its real-world counterpart. So I'm going to look at this plane. I'm not going to focus on the plane as much. I'm going to point out to some of the differences between this plane and the F-26B. And where it's better, where it's easier to use, where it's more modern, has better capabilities. But I'm going to look at the review and walk through some of the missions. Some of them are stock that come with the game, but many more that come through the Steam Workshop, and we'll have a look at that as well. So this plane does not have a campaign like the other two planes. So it has a number of stock missions under the quick flight. So free flight, it is as it says on the tin. Basically, it's just no enemies, no objective, just flying around. And then the last one is the carrier landing practice. We can look at that and just cover some of the landing stuff. But we're going to look at these three in particular. These are nice missions. They're not easy at all. So and they're pretty randomized, just like any other mission in VTOL VR. So doesn't matter how many times you do them, you're not in no way sure or certain that you're going to finish them up. So it all depends on many different variables. So let's have a look at the stealth strike. So Alpha 11 is the call sign, which is not going to matter because we don't have any communication with anybody. So we are at forward operating base, only supplies for one last sortie. So we need to destroy 3 weapon caches, so 3 cylindrical tents, and we've been marked 4 locations on the map, and the 3 tents could be either at one of those or spread out between them. So and it's different every time. So you're gonna have to cover all 4 locations, unless you were lucky and just find 3 tents in the first location, destroy it, and fly back. So this is called a stealth mission. So I did try to make this a sort of a proper stealth strike by not arming any external hardpoints, but that didn't work. So what I figured out in the end is that I need a proper anti-air weapons to fight off anywhere between 3 and 6 fighter jets that are going to be after you. So no wingman, nothing, no refueling. So destroy 3 weapon caches, threats, SAMs, patrolling aircraft. In terms of configuring for this flight, let me just recenter the seat. So basically, what I've opted for is use 4 of AGM 145 on each of these, and then just stock up on the AIM 9 pluses, because we're going to need that for the aerial battle that will ensue, and they're very persistent. They're not going to let go. They're going to follow you all the way to the base, so don't rely on trying to use the terrain to hide. So basically we need 8 of these, and we need as many of these as we can muster. So 8, 2, 4, 6, 8. So 8 of these and 8 of these. I think that will do. And let's get, because we're going to need a vertical takeoff for this mission, so we're going to need to take a bit of fuel out to make it 111, because this plane, the VCAP mode or the vertical takeoff, will not work if it's below 1.10. So need to take that into. I mean, you're okay if you're taking off from the air carrier, but this time we're not. We're taking off from a helipad. So I think I got everything right. Yeah, let's get it on.
Command. You need to find and destroy the enemy weapon caches. We don't know exactly where they are, but they're probably near air defenses. We've sent you some estimated GPS coordinates based on the radar emissions.
Okay, so basically, right from the start, it's a small, neat little cockpit. The main differences of this plane comparing to the F-26B is that it's single engine.
About to get detected. Once the enemy knows where you are, they'll send everyone they got at you.
Okay, got it. So it's a single engine. The helmet is far more modern. It has the information on the helmet here. As you can see, it's connected to the head mounting display. So no need to put the visor down anymore. The visor is only up. It's basically a sun shield. And we got a fancy display which we can have in configuration of either 4 small screens, 2 big screens, 1 big screen and 2 small, and so on. And you can then save a layout for you, which is quite useful. And then this new tactical display, which basically gives you all the information on GPS points, and you can select any of the points, and then you can immediately send it to GPS. I'll just show you now. So you can select this, and then either send it to your EOTS or the optical targeting system, or you can send it to GPS, which is really, really practical, and it makes you a lot quicker when it comes to that. But I prefer either this layout, or I prefer the layout with the map. Now you can either use these 4 layout set memory buttons, or you can use these tabs. So if you want to go from here, if you want to have comms, so you're going to have everything that you've selected last. You have EOS, comms, objectives, and you can add on each. But if you click one of these buttons, this is going to reset. So you have to choose. You have to use one of those. Okay, let's cover the takeoff, and then we're going to talk some more, because we're going to have to fly quite a bit of distance. So this mission, as I said, we need to keep stealth. So we're going to use this mountain to keep behind and creep up to this point. So we're going to look at this one, that one, then this is a major base with lots of air defense, and then this is the final one we can cover on our way home. So this is the best way that I've discovered, because you need to keep stealth as long as you can, because once they know you're there, they're going to send 2, 4, or 6 airplanes, and they're going to have to fight them, and they're really tough. So let's cover the VCAP. So the VCAP is a system. It's like an autopilot for vertical takeoff. It confuses a lot of people because it changes the commands in a slightly different way. It can be good, but it can be very frustrating. So I'm going to cover the takeoff now, and we're going to cover landing on our way back. So basically what you do is, if this is okay, so okay, yeah, the thrust weight ratio is below 110, but it's still allowing us to use the VCAP. So when you turn on the VCAP, you need to it immediately switches the tilt of the engine to 90 degrees, and then we're going to put this to the middle point right between those 2 little lines. And now this joystick is only allowing you to sort of tilt to the left and right. If you press forward, you are losing altitude. If you pull back to yourself, you are gaining altitude. And then the throttle position is not giving the throttle, it's just determining how quickly you will be going forward and backward. So once we've done all this, we take the joystick, we pull the stick, we increase the altitude, get the parking brake sorted out, and then once you've gained some altitude, what I basically want to clear this first ridge that's just ahead of me, and then whilst holding the joystick back, we just pull the joystick forward. Please note that it will not let you go into the afterburner mode, because that's reserved for the horizontal flight. And then get the gear up, basically telling the plane that you have now finished the takeoff procedure and want to start switching to the horizontal flight. Likewise, when you're landing, you need to put the gear down well ahead, otherwise the plane doesn't know what you're trying to do. And now once you've got some altitude, you can let the joystick go, and then it will start to increase speed, and it will be changing the tilt of the engine. And when you hear autopilot off, that means that you're back in control.
Autopilot disengaged.
Okay, autopilot disengaged, sorry. So we're now flying.
Landing gear.
We don't need a landing gear. So basically, I'm not going to use afterburner a lot because it's a long mission, so we want to keep we want to preserve fuel as much as we can. It is important to keep low and not to have any visual with either of the 4 sights to our left. They are pretty far out if we switch to our EOTS. So that one that we mark here is about 93 kilometers away. So it's going to take us some time to get there. Let's switch back to map in order to navigate. So another thing that is different on this plane is the Jettison Switch. So previously on the other planes you had some quick buttons so you can sort of quickly select whether you want to jettison empty or selected. But here you need to go into your store management system, and then you need to switch to jettison and then mark each of the points that you want to jettison. And then once you've done that, you grab this with a trigger, and then you use the upper button on your controller, so similar to the one that you're selecting weapons on the right hand, and then either select external hardpoints, which basically makes you stealth, or all. So we're not going to use that. And then when you click the button, you can see it sort of jettisons whatever you selected. Okay. So we're going to reduce the speed a little bit now, and I'm going to use this map to navigate around the terrain. We want to keep low and quiet as much as we can, because when we start hitting the first site, then we can quickly hit the second site and third as well, and then at some point try and deal with the air threat. And you cannot escape them, so they will be very persistent. They will hunt you down, and they will shoot you down, so you need to have some rockets to defend.
Altitude. 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 Altitude.
So my preferred approach to taking down the ground targets is to have the EOTS selected, send it to EOTS, and then have the EOTS as a sensor of interest, so I can then fine-tune, I can observe the target, and I can select what I want to shoot. And then we're going to use the AGM-145s, the fire and forget optical guided missiles, to quickly get rid of the target and then go for the next one. All the time we're going to keep an eye on the air threats and then deal with them when we have to. Just keep in mind that this base here is a pretty large base with a really good sound anti-air defense, so try not to go over it at any point. You can destroy, you can scan with the optical targeting system, you can scan and see if there are any tents there. If there are, send a couple of rockets there, but don't approach it if at all possible. These three are smaller sites. Sometimes you will find some anti-air defenses, so you will find the radar and the rockets in all three of these, but sometimes you'll find one or two weapon caches as well. So we don't know, basically.
Altitude. Altitude. Altitude.
Yes, I know. Okay, I want to make sure I get at least to this point and then cross over the hill and make a surprise attack on that one, then scan this one, deal with that one, and then we'll see how it goes. And then just to note some other differences of this plane. So here you have the indicator of the chaff and flare, but I didn't find a way to switch off
Altitude.
individually chaff or
Altitude.
flare, as it was the case with the other two planes, which means that if you're using flares, you're going to be using chaff at the same time. If you do know the way to switch them off individually, let me know, because I didn't discover that. And here on this side, you have the fuel information, and then you have the autopilot information. So you can set the navigation, you can set the heading altitude, but not speed, as it is the case with the F-26B, which is a pity, but it's perfectly manageable. So I prefer to keep my fuel, and this time you can see on the same screen your fuel drain, estimate the time, and then you can see the state of your both tanks. So I think this is an improvement comparing to the previous planes. And as you will see later on when I do a bit of combat, this helmet will mark every single rocket with a little red circle, so you can really easily monitor them, which makes missile avoidance a bit easier. And then you can see on this tactical display, you can see the missile coming to you from different direction, which is so the awareness in this plane is significantly better than the other planes. Okay, so we're approaching now the attack phase. So let's get this sensor of interest to zoom in a little bit. Let's do the save, and then let's pop out, do some damage, and then hide behind these hills again. We are going to be discovered very soon. So there is this second sight. We see a triangle in the distance. Anytime we're going to be discovered, but don't be concerned. It's supposed to go that way. Okay, so we have a weapon cache.
The enemy must have detected you. Any minute now, they're going to start sending all caps towards you.
Shoot. Missile launch. Pull up. Pull up. Altitude. Pull up. Altitude.
Okay, there we see one rocket heading our way. And then we make a turn.
Over T.
You see, it's a very nimble plane, so it's easy to trick rockets.
Altitude. Altitude. Altitude.
Okay, so let's now
Altitude.
go to this site.
Altitude. Altitude.
Great, you've destroyed one of the weapon caches. There should be 2 more out there.
Okay, there is one weapon cache. Destroy the air defenses.
Shoot. Over T. Over
And now
T.
let's see if we can quickly do some damage on the third one.
Over T.
Okay, the planes are in the air. Okay, that's the third weapon cache. I'm gonna send 2 rockets.
Over T. Pull up. Over T. Missile
And then I'm gonna
launch.
try and hide because we already...
Altitude.
So we destroyed this is gonna be the third weapon cache. And now let's deal with the planes.
Missile launch. Over T.
That's another weapon cache destroyed. There should be 1 more.
But we need to make sure to clear out the anti-air defenses so that we can fight only the planes and not both at the same time.
Over T. Over T.
Good hit.
Over T.
All weapon caches have been destroyed.
Over T.
Return to base.
Over T. Over T. Shoot. Over T. Over T. Pull up. Pull up. Altitude.
Let's try and hide behind those hills.
Missile launch. Missile
let's try and knock down these two planes. They are getting on my nerves.
Over T. Over T. Over T. Over T. Shoot. Over T.
Okay, bang, one.
Missile launch. Over T.
Let's make sure to get the other one.
Shoot.
Oops, we got hit. Hopefully nothing serious.
Missile launch. Over T. Over T. Over T. Over
Okay.
T. Missile launch.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Okay, so I didn't take the threat seriously enough.
Missile launch. Altitude. Altitude.
Okay, the rockets are going to have a hard time
Altitude.
hitting me here between the hills.
Altitude. Missile launch. Over T. Over T. Altitude. Altitude. Altitude launch. Altitude. Altitude. Altitude.
But as you can see, the plane is very persistent, so
Over
let's
T.
destroy
Over
him.
T. Over T. Over T. Altitude. Pull up. Shoot. Pull up. Altitude. Chat. Flare. APU failure. APU failure. APU failure. APU failure. Altitude. APU failure. Altitude. Shoot.
Okay, there's one more.
Pull up. Pull up.
Okay, my small winglet
Altitude.
is destroyed. But this guy is not gonna give up, so we need to deal with him. My turning is no longer as good as it was. Okay. So let's readjust the approach.
Missile over T. Over T. Flare. Over T. Over T. Over T. Shoot. Missile launch. Over T. Flare. Over T. Missile launch. Shoot. Over T. Chat. Over T. Over T. Flare. Over T.
Okay, so that's the air threat eliminated. Let's clear out the threat from this base, and then let's go back home. In terms of the objectives, yep, it's R2B. Not sure if I saved already. So, yeah, as you can see, this time the mission was a lot easier, even though I did have some problems with the planes. Sometimes it's better to fight than flight, but you know, you can try different options and see what works for you. So now all that we have left to do is to land. So we're going to cover the VCAP assisted vertical landing. Okay, for the time being, let's just dip down a bit lower because we can still be shot at.
Altitude. Altitude.
So you can see the loadout was absolutely
Altitude.
spot on. We have 3 AGM 145 and 3 of the AIM-9 plus
Altitude.
left. But sometimes,
Altitude.
this time I only dealt with about 2 or 3 airplanes.
Altitude.
There are times when you will be dealing with about
Altitude.
6. So 9
Altitude.
AIMs will be
Altitude.
even
Altitude.
insufficient.
Altitude. Altitude. Altitude.
Okay, we're gonna send this location, our base, to the EOTS. It's so that we can see where we are landing. Okay, there is still one plane in the air. So hopefully he's not gonna come after us. So let's just keep an eye on him.
Altitude. 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 Pull up.
Okay, so we lost him from the radar, we lost him from the map, and hopefully that means that he lost us as well.
Altitude.
So let's just keep low
Altitude.
and not
Altitude.
risk anything.
Pull up. Altitude. 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 Over T. Over T.
Okay, so in terms of landing, so when you reach about 20 kilometers to your destination, as indicated by that marker there, okay, so when you get about 20 kilometers away from it, you will then switch. You're going to change the tilt of your engine to 90% and then just let the plane glide and lose speed gradually. So when you have reduced the speed significantly, right to about 150 kilometers an hour, then turn on the VCAP and put the landing gear down, and then try and achieve the equilibrium, and then use the throttle and the joystick to sort of position yourself onto the landing pad. Okay, we're going to try to do this now. Okay, as I said, so there's 90 kilometers left. So we're going to use this. We're going to put the throttle in the mid position. And now you can see how you're reducing speed without any brake or anything. So it's just coming to a halt, coming into a glide. If you want to lose more speed, I suggest just lifting your nose up a little bit. You will gain altitude, but you will lose speed. So now we can almost see the landing is just behind the ridge. It is roughly, we're coming from the direction we flew in initially. We don't need any weapons, I hope. Okay, so it's going well. Okay, we can now see it. There it is. So we want to approach from this side, otherwise the tent will be in the way. So we are now down to 316. Okay, we're still losing. So now I'm still not in VCAP, so if I reduce the throttle, I'm going to start losing altitude. And I can still use the joystick as normal. So let's apply a bit of air brake, which doesn't do much, I think. So we're going to lose a bit of altitude by reducing throttle, and we're going to tilt the nose up to further reduce the speed. Okay, now put the landing gear down. Okay, and then we get to that magic middle position and turn on VCAP. And now we're trying to get the plane to reach the equilibrium of a hover. Okay, so still the speed is a bit great. So I'm going to point the joystick forward. So I'm going to start losing the altitude, and I'm going to aim the velocity vector right where the landing pad is. And then as we approach, we're going to shave off the speed by pulling the throttle lever back. Okay. And then correct with the joystick, just looking at the velocity vector. You're still losing speed, and we're still losing altitude because I'm pointing downward. Okay, so all going well so far. Let's keep the throttle position here. If you lose too much throttle and if you lose too much speed, you're going to start going backwards. So keep an eye on your lateral speed. Okay, so we need to go a little bit faster. You can see how the throttle affects your velocity vector. Let's go quite a bit faster because we lost a lot of speed. We're going 30 kilometers an hour. We're never going to get there. And you can see if you add too much throttle, it immediately changes the tilt of your engine in order to go faster. So we want to go a little bit faster, not too fast. Okay, now we are at 100 kilometers an hour. We need to reduce some speed so that we don't miss our landing pad. And now I'm just managing everything with the joystick, up and down. Okay, reduce speed even a bit more. So this is going extremely well, too well. I wasn't expecting it to go so well, but there will be times when I will be struggling, so I will be showing you everything you need to know about that. Okay, you're not happy? Okay. Okay, it wants me to land on the helipad. Yep, no problem. There we go. So put the parking brake on. Yeah, so that's it. That was the first stock mission, stealth mission. Hope you enjoyed it. You're gonna have some fun with it. Next time we're gonna look at the bomber run. So it's gonna be next mission, and yeah, see you soon.